Number one of the parish check asks you to find how long it would take this sack of money that was dropped from a 600-foot skyscraper to reach the ground. So I drew a little picture here. We have our 600-foot skyscraper, and this red dashed line represents that sack of money falling to the ground. So it hits the ground here. And if I label this an x-axis and a y-axis, what they're asking should make sense. When will it reach the ground? Well, it reaches the ground right here, where I circled it in green, and that would be the x-intercept because it's where it crosses the x-axis. So to find the x-intercept, we set the equation equal to 0, and this should make sense because in order for it to hit the ground, the height, h of t, has to be equal to 0. So I have negative 16t squared plus 600. And then we need to solve for t. A couple ways you could solve. One, you can try to factor this. Second way is you can use a quadratic formula. And the third way, I'm going to use the isolating x squared method. In this case, we're isolating the t squared. So to isolate the t squared, I'm going to get the t squared alone. And that means I need to move what's not attached to the variable first. So I need to subtract 600 from both sides. So on the left-hand side, I have negative 600. On the right-hand side, I'm left with just negative 16t squared. My goal, again, is still to get the t squared isolated. So it has a 16 attached to multiplication, a negative 16. So the inverse would be divide both sides by negative 16. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to type into my calculator. First of all, two negatives is going to make a positive when you divide. So I'm just dividing 600 divided by 16. You get a decimal. 37.5, and that's equal to t squared. T is still not alone. It has an exponent of 2. How to get rid of an exponent of 2? The opposite of squaring something is taking the square root. So if I take the square root of the right side, I have to take the square root of the left side. Really, you're going to get two answers when you take the square root, plus or minus. Square root of 37.5, but because time has to be positive in this case, we're going to take the positive answer. So if you take the square root of 37.5, you get 6.1, rounded to the nearest tenth, because they asked us to round to the nearest tenth. So when does that sack of money hit the ground? In 6.1 seconds.